Welcome to Talk Tech with Rob Scott.
Hello, welcome to the show. I'm Rob Scott. I'm your host, and today we're on location at IT Nation in Orlando. And joining me now is Reed from Evergreen. Reed, welcome to the show.
Rob, thanks for having me. Great to be here. Always a pleasure. Yeah.
Well, most people in the channel know who Evergreen is. I've got on a big giant shuttle bus, and Evergreen's logo. Yeah, Evergreen's logo was across the side of it. But
Yeah.
for those who are not as familiar with Evergreen, tell us a little bit more about Evergreen and what you guys do.
Yeah, so happy to. Evergreen's a holding company. We acquire best-in-class managed service providers. Two things we do differently is, number one, we don't integrate the businesses. And so, if we acquire an MSP called the best MSP, it's going to still be called the best MSP. It's going to have the same employees, customers, hopefully eventually serving even more customers. We like to call it decentralization. So it's tapping into the benefits of scale without kind of sacrificing what makes each MSP special, right? That special sauce, your brand, your people, the way your technicians do business. And then number two is we're never going to sell them. So we're a holding company. Our founders were inspired by the great Warren Buffett in Berkshire Hathaway and felt that there was a place in the technology services market to emulate building a holding company that just carries on the legacy of technology services businesses for decades.
Evergreen is the Berkshire Hathaway of the channel, huh?
That's the dream.
Yeah, well,
That's the dream.
I don't think you're that far away from it. And for those of the people who don't know, give a sense to the audience of the scale at which Evergreen is operating from an acquisitions and growth perspective.
Yeah, happy to. So from an acquisitions perspective, we'll probably do about 30 MSP deals this year. Those businesses, and because they're kept independent, right? We have individual CEOs running each and every one. They're also growing double digits organically at each operating company, which is super exciting and we're super proud of, right? It's a hard channel to growing, right? It's busy. It's competitive. AI is coming into the channel. And so that's generally speaking, I would say the metrics. Thinking about Evergreen broadly, we do invest into other industries, but our MSP portfolio crossed $1 billion of revenue, which we're super excited about.
Wow.
That's probably 115 or so MSPs, closed a couple November 1st, which is exciting. But really, really proud of both CNPS, ENPS, and just our seller satisfaction, right? We're here to serve our customers. We're here to empower our employees, and we're here to, create legacy with our sellers. And so those ultimately are the things we really care about. And, they're double the industry average.
That's fantastic.
And that's something we'd love to continue.
For those that don't fully appreciate the distinction between integration and distributed,
yeah,
why don't you go into a little bit more detail of what it is about integrating that so often fails,
yeah,
and why you chose this different strategy,
yeah,
and how it's impacted your business.
I think the name of the game is the customers, right? We're trying to, not change the end customer experience. The goal, hopefully make it better, right? If you're ripping out systems, if, your technicians are changing, ultimately that's, your customers are feeling those changes. And so for us, how can someone 2,000 miles apart, 2,000 miles away sitting in an office, understand the local market in Detroit, Michigan, and know how to sell to your customers and know how to interact with your technicians? And so let's take the best about your MSP. Let's take advantage of scale without sacrificing what made it special. And so ultimately, integration boils down to culture, right? You run the culture of Monger, right? Ramsey and Jeff run the culture of Evergreen. Those are completely different. And to shove them together and try to create a culture out of that can be really hard, right? It can be done well, right? It can be done thoughtfully. But then you need to figure out, okay, what are you going to do with those leaders? Are those leaders going to become a, technical resource? Or are they going to keep leading the business and steering the ship? And that's where the problems come up. And ultimately, the end customer then feels kind of the fallout of that trickiness to combine the businesses. So that's why we have the model we do. And I'm not sitting here and saying integration doesn't work, because it does, right? We've seen some great, the Integruses and the 20s of the world doing it really well.
Mm-hmm.
Simply, we feel on a services strategy where we're not going to sell to businesses. Let's set them up and gear them up for decades of success. And we feel that's the best approach to do so.
That's awesome. I want you to shift gears a little bit, and I want you to think about my 1,000 subscribers on Monger.
Yeah.
They run a gamut from 500,000 in revenue to
Yeah.
hundreds of millions, PE-backed companies like yours. Um, what kind of company could be sold to Evergreen? If I'm sitting here thinking, man, one day I'd love to sell my MSP to Evergreen, what does it mean to be um, a best-in-class MSP that a company like Evergreen would be interested in buying?
Yeah, I would say one point to make, and this is going to vary buyer by buyer, right? Our thresholds kind of sit in that 3-ish million of revenue range, 500K of adjusted EBITDA, right? From there, let's put the metrics aside,
Okay.
right? We're focusing on customer satisfaction. We're focusing on company culture. Is the business growing, right? We already talked about it a little bit, and we've actually gone this whole conversation without saying the magical word AI. Right. Are they thinking about the inflection point that we're in with this industry? Right. It's about the customers. Are they giving their end customers, a good experience? And we feel that unless you want to become a part of a huge national brand, or your branding is changing and your people are becoming a part of a national organization, we can feel like we can solve to make sellers, customers, and employees happy. And I threw the metrics aside, but it's the classic recurring revenue. Right? Kind of right-sized. How much is the business earning? Is it the right amount that it should be earning? Are your employees burned out? Do you have too many employees and they're not satisfied because they're not working on tickets that they want to be working on? And so all of those things kind of boil into valuation ultimately, that you'll see across all the different buyers.
So if I've got a $3 million business with $500,000 in adjusted EBITDA, and I decide I want to sell my business, what's the amount of time that you would recommend for them to allow that process to unfold in your experience? It's not like going to trade in a car. It's,
No. What I would say is with sophisticated buyers, all the ones that you're going to see at IT Nation, when you're ready to go, you're ready to sign an LOI and LOI to close, that can be pretty quick. It can be like buying a car, right? Not actually, but call it 45, 60, 75 days.
Yeah.
But the point from initial conversations to a signed LOI is so crucial. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to talk to only Evergreen. Talk to everyone out there, because we get the question all the time, how can I best prepare myself, my business, and my employees for a potential transaction? It's talking to everyone, and it's deciding, what do I want for myself? What do I want for my employees? And what do I want for my business? Because there are a multitude of buyers out there that are going to be solving for different things. And that process can take 6 months of reflection. It could take a backpacking trip through Europe. It could take 3 years of conversations with everyone out there. It could take 3 years of conversations with us or our competitors. That is the time frame that is very, very variable. But when you're ready, it's a pretty quick process. We've done it 120 times. We use the same attorneys. We use the same, outsourced quality of earning providers, and we feel we have it down to a science. But it's that kind of dating time that is really important.
How would you describe the state of the market for managed services where we are today here at the end of 25? I'm not going to ask you what are the multiples, because I know it depends a lot.
Yeah.
But how would you characterize what you're seeing in the market today?
No, it's a great question. I think I spoke at an event about this recently, and what I did at the beginning of my presentation was like, I had everyone raise their hand if they'd ever gotten an email, call, text, someone knocked on their door, someone showed up to their local bar with interest in buying their MSP.
And
I can tell you pretty much everybody raised their hand. And I think that's the state of the market, and we don't expect that to change, right? It's a seller's market. We saw valuations peak in 2022 as a lot of people were entering the market. They've softened a little bit, but they're still very strong, and we expect them to continue to be strong. And double clicking on the fact that it's a seller's market, take us, roll-ups, strategics, MSPs buying each other, merging. Like, there's just a lot of activity out there. There's a lot of buyers. That's not going to change. And over the next couple of years, we'll see some of the buyers come to market as well. So it'll be an interesting data point for us and other people in the channel, just for how much are they trading for, how much have they been growing, and how well received will those platforms ultimately be. And then to your last point on valuation, I will share, we generally pin it to 6 to 8 times, right? Adjusted EBITDA. People can argue adjusted EBITDA. We've paid more, we've paid less, right? It has to do with every single business is different. But we've seen that to be true, throughout our course of investing in this industry. Expect it to be consistent. I actually shared on screen the cash multiples that we've paid since 2017. Made sure my boss wasn't in the room first. On screen during a presentation. And the whole point being that, like, trying to bring down the veil and mystique around M&A, and that, like, most sophisticated, well-funded buyers are going to be paying similar multiples. Ultimately, it's how was the dating process and who's the right fit for you. That's the name of the game.
That's excellent. And you mentioned the AI, in my industry, SaaS.
Yeah.
A lot of founders are confronting this inflection point, and they have decided they don't have the energy or the capability.
Yeah.
They don't have faith in their team's ability to make the shift.
Yeah.
And they've got too much tech debt.
Yeah.
And so they're taking advantage of this seller's market to get out while they can, because those people see AI as an existential threat as opposed to an opportunity.
Yeah.
Do you think that that same thinking will creep into managed services the way I've seen it in SaaS?
I think that, I mean, our perspective is we're as excited about MSPs today as we were in 2017. We'll do 30 deals this year. I hope we'll do more next year. I think that speaks to the point that we're as excited about it as ever. I think there's a huge opportunity for MSPs to capture white space revenue. But, to the beginning of our conversation before we got on here, we're on the precipice of businesses beginning to separate in this industry. The businesses that are automating at their individual business to make their business more efficient, to let their technicians focus on value additive work, and beginning to wrap AI to their customer are the ones that are going to separate themselves. I think multiples are going to remain the same, but I think the adjusted EBITDA margins of what a business is taking home is going to change, because these businesses can be more efficient, right? You can automate monotonous tasks. And so these people are going to be exiting for more if they have AI in their business into their customers. And the ones that are going to get left behind and potentially swallowed by the channels are the ones that aren't going to take advantage of this inflection point.
That's really cool. And in terms of Evergreen's thinking as you move forward into 2026, what are some of your key objectives or results that, aside from deal count, are there things that you're looking at as success factors for 2026?
Yeah, I would say, obviously I want to have a great year of acquisitions, but, maintaining our ENPS, our CNPS, our seller NPS, and thoughtfully investing in this industry and giving back to this industry, and making sure that our businesses are set up for decades of success. I would say 2025, even 2024 was a year of trying to crack the code on organic growth in our individual businesses. We made huge investments to putting chief growth officers in every single business, right? Someone that wakes up incentivized to think about, how can I get new logos in my door, right? That's great. But you also need to take care of your current customers too. And so I think 2026 will be a year of, okay, we've cracked the code on net new. Let's make sure that our customer success is also really cranking, and that our customers want to stay with us and they want us to be their technology advisor for this next wave of AI, to really capture the opportunity that there is for MSPs, for the entire channel. Because we always get asked about disruption. I'm sure you get asked about disruption all the time. My personal view, and I think I have colleagues that share the same view, is ultimately MSPs stand between your customer and potential disruption. You know your customer the best. You know what their pain points are, and you have the opportunity to go solve them with AI. So that's what I'll leave with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Reed from Evergreen. Thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it too.
Thanks, everyone.
You've been listening to Talk Tech with Rob Scott. Brought to you by Monger. Monger is the first mover in providing contracts as a service solutions specifically designed for IT managed service providers. Their SaaS-enabled legal solution is based on industry-leading templates, customized for each client, and periodically updated to ensure that MSPs always have the latest protections and are legally compliant. For more information, visit monger.com. That's MONJUR.com.